Xi Jinping has been very naughty. He's been polishing the gun and firing missiles, and it might start a war. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. This week's China News headlines. There's a Chinese saying, firing off a shot while polishing the gun. It means accidentally starting a huge conflict. And some in Taiwan are worried that might happen. In the last 3 weeks, China has announced 4 separate exercises along its coast, along with other exercises it said were aimed at the current security situation across the Taiwan Strait. Earlier this month, the U.S. sent Health Secretary Alex Azar to visit Taiwan. He's the highest-ranking U.S. official to go to Taiwan in decades. And while he was there, China sent fighter jets. But the U.S. is sending clear signals it will support Taiwan if China starts an actual armed conflict. The de facto U.S. ambassador to Taiwan joined a ceremony marking the 62-year anniversary of the Second Taiwan Strait crisis. That's when the People's Republic of China last tried to invade Taiwan. This month, the U.S. also sent warships through the Taiwan Strait. And China is upset that U.S. spy planes keep watching their military drills. China's defense ministry said this could easily have caused a misunderstanding or misjudgment or an unexpected incident. Well, apparently there is some misunderstanding because the U.S. said the spy plane was in accordance with international flight rules and complained of unsafe intercepts by Chinese aircraft. So with everyone polishing their guns, this could escalate into something much worse. One thing is for sure, if the U.S. weren't showing this kind of support for Taiwan, the Chinese Communist Party would probably feel like it could get away with invading Taiwan. So sometimes, a nice shiny gun is the best way to keep everyone safe. I'm no gun expert, but maybe you should take the bullets out before polishing it. Speaking of firing guns, China's new missiles work great. Because the day after that U.S. spy plane flew over the South China Sea, the Chinese military fired missiles, including an aircraft carrier killer missile. The U.S. military detected at least 4 missiles launched from mainland China into the South China Sea. It's meant to be a clear warning to the United States, presumably that China can fire its guns on purpose, too. A Chinese military source told the South China Morning Post that the missile launch was aimed at improving China's ability to deny other forces access to the South China Sea. I'm guessing that by other forces, he means the U.S., which has been sending a record number of U.S. Navy ships on freedom of navigation exercises in the South China Sea. And according to Vice Admiral Scott D. Kahn, the commander of the U.S. Third Fleet, the U.S. is going to continue to demonstrate its commitment to a free and open Indo-Pacific. That was after he was asked about China's missile launches, so the U.S. Navy doesn't sound like they're particularly worried about China's shiny guns. But if a potential military clash between China and Taiwan and the U.S. seems unlikely, don't worry. China might have one with the Philippines instead. The Philippines lodged a formal diplomatic protest because the Chinese Coast Guard kept giving illicit warnings to Filipino aircraft flying over parts of the South China Sea that are within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. The People's Republic of China claims that the area has belonged to China since ancient times. But in 2016, an international court ruled that no, it doesn't. The Chinese regime didn't like that ruling, so they've simply been ignoring it. For years, Filipino President Rodrigo Duterte has been dealing with this issue by trying to befriend the Chinese Communist Party, which has worked about as well as you'd expect. Now, in a switch, the Filipino foreign minister has said that the Philippines would call on the U.S. if China attacked the Filipino Navy. Meanwhile, this was China's take on the recent incident.
The Philippine side sent military aircraft to invade airspace in the proximity of islands and reefs of the Spratly Islands where China is stationed, undermining China's sovereignty and security. The Chinese side urged the Philippine side to stop these illegal and provocative actions immediately.
Sounds like Xi Jinping just can't stop polishing his gun. It's smaller than I thought it would be. And with China becoming so aggressive with its neighbors in the South China Sea, the U.S. is taking new steps to push back. The U.S. has announced it will sanction Chinese individuals responsible for or complicit in either the large-scale reclamation, construction, or militarization of disputed outposts in the South China Sea, or the People's Republic of China's use of coercion against Southeast Asian claimants to inhibit their access to offshore resources. So that means Chinese authorities who have helped build China's artificial islands, or who have tried to stop other countries from being able to fish and drill for oil in the South China Sea. Those targeted will now be inadmissible to the U.S., and restrictions could extend to their family members as well. 24 Chinese state-owned companies will also face new sanctions. Several of those state-owned companies are subsidiaries of China Communications Construction Company, a humongous Chinese state-owned company that's a big part of China's Belt and Road projects. So that's pretty significant. Let me know in the comments if you'd like me to do an episode on that. I have to say, the U.S. is killing it with sanctions on China. First Xinjiang, then Hong Kong, now the South China Sea. And that probably means there's more to come. Call of Duty, Black Ops, Cold War. It looked like an awesome game about communist subversion and infiltration of American society. And then things got a little too real. And it's because of this clip. Yep, the Tiananmen Square protests of 1989. Well, that got the trailer censored in China. And so the American game developers re-edited the trailer to remove the Tiananmen footage. Because self-censorship is exactly what happens when America is subverted by communism. Is this some kind of meta marketing ploy? Or are the people over at Activision just clueless? If only it were that simple. The Chinese company Tencent owns a 5% stake in Activision's parent company, Activision Blizzard. And last year, Blizzard got in trouble after they banned a player for supporting Hong Kong protesters. Sounds like the video game industry is also getting subverted by communism. The Chinese Communist Party has come up with a brilliant new strategy for fighting the coronavirus. You see, the virus spreads from person to person. So, to eliminate the coronavirus, you need to eliminate the people. Brilliant. And obviously the best place to try out this new strategy is in Xinjiang, home of the Uyghur ethnic minority that the CCP has already been trying to wipe out. The capital city Urumqi has been in lockdown for 40 days. And if you thought the lockdown of Wuhan a few months ago was harsh, it's nothing compared to the lockdown in Urumqi.
Doors sealed with iron nails or tape, people are locked in handcuffs. Citizens have been seen venting their frustrations by shouting into the night. Xinjiang authorities also distributed traditional Chinese medicine to residents, even to pregnant women. Some community management personnel even supervised the residents while they drank the medicine. In other cases, they asked people to film themselves consuming the drugs to make sure they really consumed them. One netizen disclosed that some Urumqi residents reported abdominal pain, stomach aches, and insomnia, among other symptoms, after taking the distributed medicine.
You know, somehow I feel like that has nothing to do with the coronavirus. But what does have to do with the coronavirus is this. The Communist Party has decided to start testing a vaccine on state workers, which they can do because in China, medical decisions are under the control of the central government. Socialized medicine with Chinese characteristics. But clearly, with so much going wrong for the Chinese Communist Party, it's time to find a scapegoat. And the scapegoat for the 21st year in a row is the spiritual practice Falun Gong.
Recently, Chinese authorities across several provinces and cities rolled out programs to reward citizens with up to 100,000 yuan, approximately $14,300, for reporting Falun Gong adherents' activities to local police.
It's believed that millions of people are still practicing Falun Gong in China. I mean, how dare they try to stay physically and mentally healthy during the coronavirus? Actually, I have a feeling they'll be very helpful in testing out the party's new mandatory coronavirus vaccine. TikTok, the social media app owned by Chinese company ByteDance, is suing the Trump administration for banning it. It says Trump's executive order banning it was heavily politicized, which is true, in that the entire US government agrees TikTok is trouble. It's an issue where Democrats like Chuck Schumer, the Senate Minority Leader, agree with Trump. That should tell you how serious of a national security threat TikTok is. But things are looking up for TikTok. It might not get banned after all, because it looks like ByteDance is going to sell TikTok to Microsoft. And Walmart? I did not see that one coming. Walmart, always low prices. And dance challenges. What's that, Shelley? There's a challenge called the Walmart Shuffle. It all makes sense now. A NASA researcher has been arrested for allegedly hiding his ties to China. Professor Zhengdong Cheng worked at Texas A&M University for years. Prosecutors say Cheng deliberately concealed his ties to Chinese universities, a Chinese company, and state-backed talent plans, while at the same time leading a research team for NASA. Also this week, the U.S. says Chinese diplomats helped military scholars visiting the U.S. evade FBI scrutiny, which was part of the reason that the U.S. government forced the Chinese consulate in Houston to close. Something tells me there's a lot more to this story. But for now, I'm going to answer a question from one of you, a fan who supports China Uncensored on the crowdfunding website Patreon. Jason asks, what's everyone's at China Uncensored's favorite kind of pizza? Ooh, good question. I'm going to go ahead and answer for the entire team because I know we're all on the same page with this one. It would have to be the Domino's bubble tea pizza we had while we were in Taiwan. It was salty and sweet. Like Matt and Shelley, really. I'll let you guess which one of them is the sweet one and which is the salty one. Thanks for your question, Jason. And thank you for watching. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe. Even if you already are a subscriber, double check because YouTube has secretly unsubscribed people before. And if you like uncensored news about China, please support the show on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/ChinaUncensored to see how. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.